That's Kat,
That's Ian.
and this is 404.
Script not found.
That's perfect. Like a terrible voice message. I love it. Welcome back to the show. In the co-chair spot today, Sammy Brenner.
Hey, good to be
Yeah.
here. Thrilled
Kat's
to
out
be
of
here,
town.
actually.
So Sammy negotiated her way into the co-chair spot today.
Yeah. We could say, like, begged.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's a tactic.
I'll own it. I'll own it. I love doing this. I'm
We
actually
love having
annoyed
you on.
it took you this long to get me back on.
Listen, I didn't
Yeah.
want to seem desperate.
I know. I hear you. So,
Yeah.
like, make me the desperate one? Is that
Yeah, exactly. Playing hard to get.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you reaching out.
Oh my gosh, I'm thrilled to be on because we were just saying my Meraki on Box podcast is kind of no longer. So I need to scratch the itch of
This
my
could be your new
podcast.
home.
Yes, this is my new
Yeah.
home, is really
Yeah.
what we're saying. Yeah,
Well, we're happy.
great.
And you came ready today. You wanted to talk negotiation tactics,
Yeah, I
which
think
is
it's an interesting.
topical for
Yes,
us.
it is topical for us at Cisco.
Yeah.
2 focal cycles, but just in general too, if you're listening outside of Cisco, I think it's a really important thing to talk about. I think it's really important for women to talk about the art of negotiation and how to do it and why it's so important. So yeah, and I love like coaching and helping friends of mine, will call me and be like, "Oh, I have a job offer. Like, can you help me negotiate this?" And I'm like, "Oh, yes, I love doing that kind of thing."
I'm gonna start calling you.
Please start calling me.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
will say, so I've been like the victim of not negotiating before in
Mm,
my career when I was a youngin'.
yes.
And since
Yes.
then, I've learned that pretty much every offer, regardless of whether you love it, hate it, you need to be negotiating.
Absolutely.
And
And
it's just
like
one of those
less is
things that if you
more.
don't ask, they're not going to offer it to you.
No. Nope. Open mouths get fed.
Open mouths get fed. I like that. So where
That's
do you
the
want to
name of the
start? Like, do
episode.
you want to start with like just, hey, you're in the process of job searching and you want to negotiate that? Like, where do you want to start with this?
Yeah, let's start with that. Okay, so let me start by telling a story. I went
Yeah.
to like probably 15 years ago at this point in San Francisco. Shout out to the Bay. I went to like a LinkedIn, networking event, and there was this
That's cool.
executive at LinkedIn, and it was like a woman in tech event. And she said, I will never forget this. I think she worked in HR. She's like, I can look at a payroll sheet with the names blurred out, and I can tell you who's a man and who's a woman based on their salary because men
Really?
often negotiate and women do not. And the second she said that, I was like, I am not going to fall victim to that
Right.
scenario, and it was a really powerful kind of like moment. But I've tried it before and totally flopped, and I've learned so much from what not to do, and I've learned what to do along the way. So yeah, where do you want to start? Like I'm hunting for a new job.
Yeah, I mean, let's start there, I guess. So
Yeah.
like you're hunting for a new job and you get an offer, right?
Yeah.
And I think the feeling is right away, it's like, okay, there's a feeling of relief because you've kind of reached the finish line in your head of like all of this interview cycle and
Yep.
job searching process. But it's kind of just starting in a way because now they have you on the hook and you have them on the hook and the dance begins here
Yeah.
of the negotiation. So like what is your first like thought? Like what are you looking for? Is it like I want to negotiate the salary? Is it like what other benefits? Like where do you go from there?
Yeah. So I think something that I like to do before the process even starts is like knowledge is power. And when you're talking to the recruiter, if the range of the job isn't posted online, which now legally in most states they have to do,
Yeah.
you bring it up with the recruiter, right? Because the worst thing actually is to put yourself in a process, do all this homework and research, nail the interview, and then you get to the negotiation and they're 100K off from where you're even
Right.
comfortable starting, right? So like do yourself a favor, ask the hard questions up front, make sure there's a range in which you're comfortable with. And again, if it's not posted online, ask the recruiter and always make them say the number first. Do not say your number first, especially if you're interviewing externally. They can't legally know what you are making at that job, right? You can certainly give
Yeah.
them a range, but make them say it first. And then you can decide at that point, okay, is their range something I'm comfortable with? Or is this so off that I don't even want to waste their time?
And I think that's something I've fallen victim to before, and it ends up haunting you for, like, as long as you're at that company,
Yes.
which is the crazy thing.
Yes.
It's like I got this is forever ago, but I got offered a job, like, loved the number they gave me, was like, "Oh, this is a significant raise. I'm great." Didn't negotiate at all. And then 3 years down the line, got promoted and was like, "Well, that number's not where I wanted it to be." And they're like, "Yeah, but we're capped out at what a raise is, and if you negotiated the first time, you coulda gotten up to this number, and then you coulda gotten this number now, but now you're stuck here." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, no."
Yeah. Yeah. It's real. Like, it's and the entry point is so important because to your point right there,
Truly.
if you are off, then that just sets you back a long way. And
Yeah, for I mean, it's literally, like, as long as you're there, I feel
yeah.
like, and that's what's crazy is, like, we're talking about a point in time moment that ends up dictating your future earnings for a
Your future earnings. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. So that's step 1, right? Is like asking that question up front, being comfortable with that. And then, throughout the interview process, like don't be shy about asking, are there RSUs? Is there an employee purchase program? Is there a signing bonus, right? What are the benefits at your company? These are all things you should know in advance of the negotiation because if an offer comes back lower than you want, but you can supplement with RSUs, for example, right? Restricted stock units. That's the company giving you stock that vest over a certain amount of time. Like there are little levers you can pull later when you've done your due diligence up front.
I like that.
Yep.
And that I mean, knowledge is power through it all of this, and I think that's, like, you do so much work for researching the company or the
Yes.
role or all of that, that
Hmm.
you, tend to forget, I think, the back end of, like, "Alright, once I get there, what am I doing?"
What am I going to do? Yeah.
And you end up, like, losing because of that.
Right.
Now, I feel like you mentioned something there with benefits, and I
Yeah.
think sometimes that gets, like that's a carrot the organization or the company will offer as, like, a negotiation, like, "Hey, we're giving you a concession here with this," but in actuality, that may be table stakes. Is there a
Hmm.
way that you uncover that of, like, "Hey, like, okay, everyone gets a employee stock purchase plan, and that's really not, like, a differentiator for me?"
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, a lot of companies now are offering unlimited PTO, right? And Cisco kind of moved to that model
Yep,
as well. That's really attractive to some people. Now, others might say, no, I like traditional PTO because if I don't use it all, I get paid out on that right when I
right.
leave the company. And a lot of times there's been research to show that most people don't use their unlimited PTO, right? So, like, frame that as you may, but I think, things like that for if you want to be a mom, right? Are
Yep,
there benefits for, fertility benefits, whether it's egg freezing, IVF being covered, a night nurse, right? Some of these tech startups have incredible benefits when it comes to leave and, fertility and all that stuff. If you want to be, a parent, a dad, is there paternity leave, right? What does that look like? At Cisco, I think the woman, depending on the state, gets 4 to 6 months. A dad gets at least 4 months off. That's incredible, right? So, like, I think too, benefits depending on where you are in life stage really matter,
for
right?
sure. I
So ask
think it
questions.
go ahead.
Yeah, go no, I was just making sure you ask those questions.
Yeah, and that's what I think it comes down to, like, asking the right questions, but then also feeling comfortable having that conversation
Yeah,
because there's so much of this that I think people, like, get cold feet and they're like, "Oh, I don't wanna press on this," or "I don't wanna ask that question," because they
yeah,
don't want to lose the offer itself, and
right.
I think there's such an element of, like, being willing to ask those questions, knowing, like, "Hey, they've picked you. So you
Yes.
kinda have the floor here and don't bail out. Like, don't be comfortable with that awkward silence when you ask. Be comfortable letting them speak first on some of this.
Yes. I'm doing the Gen Z clap right now for you. That once you have the offer, they already want you. They want you. When you have the offer, you're good.
Yeah,
It's the worst that can happen is you ask and they say no.
right.
That's it, right? Like, play out the scenario in your head. To your point, don't get cold feet. Practice with someone, right? Whether it's your friend, your partner, your, a friend of the company you're at, maybe even the recruiter. Like, hey, when I'm talking to the hiring manager, can I role play for you what the scenario would be like, or what, asking for this kind of thing. Ask for help. Don't
Yeah,
get cold feet.
right.
You're
And I
doing
think
a
it's
disservice to yourself.
true I mean, truly. And I
Yeah.
think I might be generalizing, but, like, I would say younger people struggle more with that a bit just because
Yeah.
it is like you haven't learned that through repetition and then like me the hard way of
Yeah.
some of this. But it's okay. Like
Yeah.
they've made their decision to the point of like they may or may not have contacted the other candidates around this of like that they've moved on and not chosen them. So like you're in the driver's seat at this point. And then the other piece of this is like having leverage. So like obviously if you're new in career and you're coming out of school, like this might be your only option and that is working against you. But if you're in the job force, like having a fallback, having an existing job or having alternative options here gives you all of the leverage in the world because it's not like a life or death negotiation of like all or nothing.
Totally. I think that's a really good point. I think you interview better when you're not feeling desperate, right? So, completely understand if you've been laid off and you're looking for a new job, but it's always good, I think, to interview even when you're not looking necessarily. I have a friend who's an executive in tech, he's a VP of sales. He interviews once every 3 months. And he has no intention of taking the other jobs, but it's just to keep his skill set where it needs to be because interviewing is an art, right?
I went to a woman in the channel event and this is many years ago and it was
Yeah,
a CMO of a company. And she said, she goes, I interview once a year. She goes, I've been at this company for 12 years. I interview every single year.
right. Just to practice, just to keep the skill set. Like it's really important. Now, do I take my own advice all the time? No, but I help people with interview prep and I am on a ton of interview panels, so it
Right.
helps to see what's out there, you
Yeah,
know?
and I think I say this all the time. It's all a game. Like,
Yeah,
and it's a game to be the interviewer, and it's a game to be the interviewee. Of
yeah,
like understanding there is an order to the questions they're asking that makes sense and matters, and there is a way that you can kind of go in with like, this is the story I want to tell, this is the narrative I want to craft,
mhm,
and like understanding where there might be weak spots for you in the interview process and in the negotiation ultimately and identifying those ahead of time and overcoming them. And
yep,
even like this transition through like other industries, like car, if you're buying a new car, this all is still applicable. And I
yeah.
have a story.
Oh,
2
what's the
cars ago
story?
2 cars ago, I had no leverage. I had a car that was on its truly last legs. It couldn't this was I was like 24.
Yeah,
It couldn't go in reverse, so I had to, like, find a spot that I could pull through in, so they in my head, they weren't gonna find out, and I remember
mm,
being like, "Okay, I don't this isn't working for me, like, I'm gonna leave," and the guy was like, "We already test drove your car, you can't leave," and I was like, "Oh, no."
you quite literally can't reverse out of the spot,
Yeah, he was
so
like, "I know you can't leave," and I was like, "Alright, well."
Whoa.
But if you're buying a car, like, having a car that's not end of life
Yeah,
it's a thing that then, like, you have that opportunity, like, "Hey, we're not in a place, that's fine, you if it's not gonna work for you, it's not gonna work for me, like, I can move
yes,
on here." And
yes.
that's power, like, you'll get a call back. They're going to continue to negotiate, they don't wanna lose that deal at that point.
Totally, and be prepared to walk away. If they
Right.
can't match what you need and want, it's okay. Walk away, right?
So
Don't
much of this is just confidence in
yes,
yourself and,
yeah,
like, your own abilities.
yes. Okay, so that's kind of covering, like, art of negotiation for a new company, a new role, a new job. I
Yeah.
think when you're at a company and you're up for promotion or review or there's a focal cycle, it's kind of a different animal entirely,
Alright. Let
right?
me get on a notepad here really quick.
Get out a notepad. Um I let me share a quick story of how I totally botched a negotiation one time and kind of what I learned from that. So there's a lot about, understanding how it works at a company, how promotion cycles work. A small 20-person startup is going to be very different than how Cisco operates, right? Focal and a promotion and all that stuff. So know how it works at your company, know when to ask, know who to ask, have a story for why. I was at a startup in 2013, 2014. It was my first real job in sales. And I had a new director of sales and she was super supportive. And I'm like, let's go to the CEO and ask for a raise. I've been here for a year and a half. I'm crushing my number. And I just didn't have a fully fleshed out story or vision for my promotion. And I just went in there with my brand new boss at this company and asked. She was a new director of sales. And he ripped me apart. Like, I have PTSD from this experience.
You're like, "Alright, let me keep my job
Like,
actually."
"Actually, let me just keep the lights on." It was bad, and I think there was a lot of, like, ego there, and he just wanted to show me who was boss, which is whatever, that is what it is, but it taught me, if you are gonna go in and ask for a raise, you better have a story, you better have things outside just a number to articulate, you gotta, show your value, and you need to understand how it works at the company so you're not doing it blind,
Yeah.
right? So those are a bunch of learnings, and
So what are those things outside of the number?
so I think having a deck prepared, right? Of who are you? What are your differentiators? Show me what you've done to go above and beyond. Doing your job is table stakes, right?
Yep.
Being good at what you do is truly table stakes. Let's assume everyone is doing that. What are you doing to go above and beyond? Be able to articulate that, be able to show numbers, right? Tell a story with the data. And then, why are you this invaluable member of my team that I should prioritize? And I think if you're able to convey that and you do it with the right people in the right timeline and you have expectations, you understand how the process is going to work, you understand, hey, this is the budget for it, or there's a 3 to 5% increase at my company typically annually, right? That I can ask for. You to our original point, knowledge is power. So get all the answers up front so that you feel really confident walking into the process and you have your boss's buy-in, you have the skip level buy-in, right? So your boss's boss. If those 2 people are supportive and have your back, usually it's gonna happen,
Right.
right? Um,
And
what
I
were you
think I think there's an element and like here is very different than other places I've worked where like and maybe it's just I'm siloed like the bosses I've had.
Yeah,
But I always feel like when those focal cycles have come up, I know where I stand going in. Meaning,
yeah,
like, when I've asked for something, I've felt comfortable knowing the answer of that
right,
more times than not. Of like, either I'm not out of my mind asking for this, or it's like already going to happen, and it's more of like a self fulfilling prophecy at that point. I kind of
yeah,
know it, but it's like you kind of have to be realistic with yourself and understand, like, hey, where do I stack rank, and what's within reason. And to your point of like knowledge is power, of like understanding what levers your boss has to offer, whether it's stock or a bonus or a payout or merit, and like which of those matter to you and which you're kind of willing more to like settle on and forgo.
exactly. So, like, let's talk about it at Cisco, right? We have, promotions and 2 focal cycles a year, essentially, at this point. So knowing the timing is critical, right? That reps or you're going to your boss in that time frame before the tool opens up, presenting your story, asking for what you want, and to your point, knowing, "Do I want cash? Is that more valuable to me? Or am I okay with asking for RSUs?" So for me personally, at this stage of my career, I'd way rather have RSUs,
Yeah.
right? So I
Same.
communicate that to my leader, which is, hey, if it means foregoing this cycle, putting this money to my team, but then you recognizing me in 6 months for a little more hours, like I'm good with that, right?
Yeah.
So just like understanding how the game works a little bit and being able to communicate that. And you don't want to be surprised. So like if you think you're a shoe-in and you've been performing an excellent clip and you're gonna get and then you don't get anything, that shouldn't happen. Right.
No.
You should be on the same page with your leader about, am I performing? Am I going above and beyond? Are there things that I need to change? Let's say you don't get a promotion this cycle and they pass you up, then it's a really good learning opportunity. Okay, clearly my expectations and yours were off. We missed the mark. How do we align so that next time it's gonna happen,
Yeah, and
right?
I think that's where like you have to see the bigger picture, and it's tough because like, and I'm kind of living this right now a lot, where
Yeah,
it's like me or like we can use a agnostic person here, like they deserve the world here, they deserve a promotion or a raise or whatever
you
it is in the
deserve the
cycle.
world.
Thank you. But there's only so much to go around, and
Yeah,
that's like the reality of the times we live in here, is like not everyone is going to get it. So to your point, it's like, what am I willing to take then instead of the thing I really want, and being kind of like proactive in seeking that out of like, "Hey, this is what I want, A," but then like I have a B and a C goal as well that would be fine for my retention here.
yep, yep,
Now,
that's a good call out.
yeah, so how have you like outside, maybe it's just repetitions at work, but are there
Mhm.
things or negotiations like you do in your own outside of your 9 to 5 that have helped you build these skills? Like, I always joke, I learned to give tough talks by, like, literally arguing with Chipotle employees over, getting extra meat for free. Like, are there things
Oh.
like that you've done?
How do you negotiate that? Because I would like to get extra meat for free.
It's not negotiating, but it's just feeling like a like, literally, when I first got promoted to being a leader at my old company, my
Yeah,
boss was like, "Just go have tough talks every single like, get yourself a rep every day."
yeah,
And for me, like, the lowest hanging fruit was at lunch. Like, I'd go to a fast casual place like Chipotle or Cava, and it was just like, if I wasn't enthralled with something they gave me, feeling comfortable enough to, like, vocalize that and be like, "Hey, actually, could I get a little more of that?" Or like,
right.
that was kind of a small scoop, like, "Could you just put that little extra bit back in?"
Yeah,
And, like, it's not a hard conversation actually, but it's just getting comfortable being uncomfortable in, like,
yeah.
a day-to-day atmosphere,
Mhm.
and knowing that, like, it's kind of like running for me, where, like, running always hurts at a race. Like, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter how fit you are. The guy who's gonna win the Boston Marathon in 3 weeks, like, it's going to hurt for him just as much as it's going to hurt for the guy who finishes in 6 hours.
Yeah,
But it's being okay with that level of hurt and exposing yourself to that uncomfortability
yeah,
repeatedly so that when it comes in a negotiation or something that matters to you, it's more of a familiar place than like, oh my God, I have to panic here because I don't feel good about how this is going.
yeah. Yeah. That's super fair, and I think too, getting uncomfortable with, like, silence and pauses during negotiation is really powerful. I think we can talk our way they always say you can talk your way out of a sale, but you can't listen your way out of a sale, right?
Oh,
Woo!
okay.
So that instinct, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. To pause and get uncomfortable with pause is very important. A book that changed the way I think about this, it's called Never Split the Difference, and it's
Okay.
by Chris Voss, and he was a former FBI negotiator. So in these very stressful, high stakes
I'm
situations.
literally taking notes right now. We've fully entered that part of the podcast.
Right. Those who can't do teach, right?
Yeah.
So it is awesome. And it really reframes your brain on like before I really thought splitting the difference was winning, right?
Right.
You want 100, I say 80, we land at 90. I'm like beautiful.
Yeah.
But
Win win.
right, but it's not actually. And, like, putting your stake in the ground for what you want and learning how to negotiate and read people's body language. Like, negotiation is very much about just reading people,
For
right?
sure.
And body language and cues, and he kind of took his expertise in very high stress situations where he had to stay calm, measured, read people, and then, transformed it into, like, this is how you negotiate in life, and now he teaches. And there was, like, a master class he did, but the book is excellent, I highly recommend you read it, but I think the big takeaway, one of them for me, is just the power of the pause, the power of silence and being uncomfortable, the power to say, "Okay, I'm gonna walk away," and people always come back. Um, but I would say that's a big thing that I think we as humans, we just wanna fill the silence, and it's important to pause.
It is.
You're pausing now.
I
You're
am.
pausing to reflect.
No, this was awesome. What have we missed? Have we missed anything that you would want to instill on our audience?
Okay,
I'm
so
currently
yes.
buying the book, so
So, little things I know, by the book. Also, he talks about in the book picking a weird number. So, like, if you're negotiating and you're like, "I want 200K," like, he's like, "Go in at, like, 201.5." Like, do a very specific oddball number and talk about the research you've done to back up what you're asking for. You sound more, like, calibrated in a way. Like, "Oh,
yeah,
this person, like" right?
they did their
Uh
market research of, like, what
Yeah.
this job in this market pays, and they're not just picking a number out of thin air.
Right, exactly. If something comes back, an offer that you're like, "This could be better, but I'm really excited about the opportunity," I think first saying that to the recruiter, "The offer is not exactly where I need it to be at this moment, but I'm confident we'll get there, and I'm super excited about the opportunity," right? Reiterating that, like, being grateful, and then, a no is actually a beautiful thing. A no is where the negotiation starts, right? I would rather hear no all day than, like, ambiguity in the middle.
For sure, that's sales 101.
That's sales 101, baby. So when you
Yeah,
hear the no, ding, 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 you're winning, right? That means they're willing to talk. Um, use your leverage in the other things we talked about earlier, whether it's RSUs, or maybe there's a signing bonus, or maybe you have in writing that if you hit certain standards the first year that you'll be considered, right, the following. There's a million, do research, ways to bump that offer up, maybe if it's not cash for what you want, but to make you happy, especially if you're excited about the company and the opportunity. Because guess what? Money comes and goes. You can always make more of it. And it's not everything, right? If it is a soul sucking job, I'm not going to name the 10 AI companies that I have friends at who are miserable. You know what I mean? And
I
you're
do.
excited about it, try to make it work. And especially for those women out there, practice makes perfect. Men too, but I feel like men negotiate more often than women. So find a friend, find a mentor, find someone you trust, rehearse, right? Role play.
Yeah.
Do it a
Practice.
couple times in front of the mirror just so your nervous system is a little more calibrated when you do it in person, and lean into the pause. Say what you
Maybe.
want and then stay silent. Less is more. Write it out, say exactly what you want, and be completely silent.
Love it.
See what they come back with.
Well, hopefully we'll have you back.
I know. You will have me back because I'm like kind of like the unofficial like third co-host now.
You are, for sure.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you're our most recurring guest at this point.
Oh my gosh. I negotiated that.
You did.
I really didn't give you an
Successfully.
option. So I know this probably ran longer than your usual episode.
No,
but
this
thanks
was
for having
great.
me. So fun. I love being
Yeah.
here.
We appreciate you.
Let's do a part 2, listeners. Tell us if any of these tips or tricks work.
Yeah, and give us
I wanna
stories.
know. Yes, give us stories.
For sure. Until next time.
Until next time.
Sammy, thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
If you like the episode, please rate, review, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Until next time.
Thank you for listening.